What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. This is Web Dev Journey, and in today's video we're going to be talking about routing keys and binding keys. I haven't talked about binding keys. I've been referring them as routing keys. You'll see why in a bit. But anyways, we're going to be talking about routing keys and binding keys. Something we've ignored in the last videos, right? We've only done exchange and just the basic fan out and also basic exchange types, right? So never really using the routing keys. But in this video, we are. And there's only two types of exchanges that use the routing key, right? The direct and also the topic. Fan out ignores it, and headers, the headers exchange just uses headers, obviously, so it doesn't use the routing key. Anyways, and the reason why we're doing a routing key is because we're going to be filtering out our logging system. All right, so we're going to be using the logging system that we created in the pub sub in the last video. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out, because we're going to be using that exact same code base. We're going to just be modifying it. All right, and since we are creating a logging system, all we want to do is just filter out what kind of log system is it. All right, so in this case, we're going to be building a logging system where you could send out logs if it's an error log, if it's an info log, or if it's a warning log, right? Depending on what it is. We want to send the error log to an error queue. We want to send the warning log to the warning queue, you know, yada yada yada. So anybody that wants to listen to any errors coming in can do that without having to grab all the logs at the same time, right? We want to be able to filter that out, and that's why we're using a direct exchange, because we want to filter those things out. It's not a very complicated filtering, obviously. That would be used for topic. This is very like straightforward. Oh, it's an error, send it to the error exchange or the error queue, right? It's pretty much direct. That's why they call it direct exchange, right? Because it's direct, but it has a filtering capability to it. So I'm gonna actually show you what's going to, like, how a direct exchange works really quickly, because I know I explained it so many times. Well, not really so many times, but I have explained it. So anyways, you have your publisher, you have your exchange type. This is going to be the direct exchange type. You have your queue, right? And you also have your consumer right here. So your publisher is going to be sending a message to the to the exchange with a routing key, okay? RK, I'm just say RK for routing key, okay? It's going to be sending a message with a routing key. Now, the exchange is going to be using this routing key to determine which queue to send it off to, okay? Now remember, this binding right here, this actually does use a binding key as well. I've been referring it as a routing key because literally what it is that this binding key, what it's going to be checking, since it is a direct key or a direct exchange, it's going to say, hey, does this queue's binding key equal the RK, the routing key? If it equals the RK or the routing key, then send it to this queue, right? So if the RK right here was red or something like that, right? Or error. Oh, let's do error since we're doing something like that, right? So if this was error, if we're sending the routing key error with the publisher, and now the direct exchange has that, and this queue has a binding key that is set to, let's say, BK, it's going to set to, this is equal to error, right? And this one over here, let's have two of them. And this is BK, is set to, I don't know, info, right? So since the binding key over here equals error and the PK equals error, the direct exchange is going to be binding these two queues, right? It's going to be sending this message to this queue because the binding key is error. It's not going to send it over here because the binding key is info, and RK does not equal BK, okay? And then it's going to send it to the consumer, right? So this is how basically how a direct exchange works. It's literally using the routing key and the binding key to make sure where it sends it off to. And we're going to see that more in depth. And in the end of the video, guys, we are going to get into deep, like what each file does exactly. So stay tuned if you're interested in that. If not, then, well, you could just, leave. But anyways, this is the basics of it, okay? So I'm actually going to just close that out and let's get to it. All right, so the way we're going to be structuring this is that once we run the file, we want to be able to send in what kind of log type is it. Is it an error? Is it a warning? Is it a info? And then the message that comes into it, right? So there's a little bit more user input that we need to grab. And guys, if you do not know how to grab user input, I'm not going to be explaining it in this video. It's very simple, and you could basically just see what I'm doing, and then you could do it yourself. Matter of fact, I'm not doing it. Like I've said this, man. I'm just going off the RabbitMQ tutorials that they have. So this is what they've done, and yeah, this is how you would grab user input. Anyways, all right. So the first thing they did is that they grabbed the arguments. So this argument is going to return an array with the arguments, these being the arguments, right? So this is index 0 and then index 1. And then our message is literally going to be our second parameter, our second index, right? So I don't know why they use slice 1. I honestly do not know, since this could be, I could actually show you const, or not const, log. God damn it, log. And I'm going to do args, right? I'm going to use args. I'm going to get rid of all this. Control save, and check this out. If I hit enter right here, you're gonna see that, hey, this is our arguments right here, args, right? And it's an array. Here's 0 and here's 1. Now, what I'm assuming is that you do not have these quotes. I think that's what they're assuming, right? So if you do not have these quotes, it's going to give you, it's going to give you this, and that's why they join it. So they grab it from slice 1, which is right here, and then just grab everything from there on out, and then join it, and it's going to give you cannot read file, right? But in this case, guys, I'm gonna make it much more simpler, and I'm going to be including these quotes. So I'm hoping that you include the quotes as well. If you don't, then good luck to you. Try to figure it out. Obviously, the answer is right here, but I want to make it more simpler so that way we don't run into these things, right? So, anyways, our message is going to be args, and since it's an array, we're gonna grab the second index, which is 1, right? If there is no second index, then we're going to be subscribe, like, and comment. Also, we're going to have to grab the log type. What kind of log is it, right? Is it a error log or a warning log or whatever? And we're gonna set this to arg0. And here I'm assuming that you are going to be putting in a log type, right? So here it is. I'm assuming that you put in a log type. So if I do this, oops, let's get the message. MSG. Control save. I'm just trying to make sure in my part. If I do this, yeah, I grab the subscribe, like, and comment. If I put something in there, let me put something in there. There you go. Cannot read file. That's our message. Okay, awesome. All right, so we have our, we have the log type. What kind of log is it? And we also have the message. Now, it's going to be exactly the same as, like I said in the last video. We still have to do a connection channel, assert the exchange, but instead of the fan out, what we're going to be using is the direct exchange. Now, in the last video as well, since we were using a fan out, we didn't really care what, queue it was sent to. This is basically our routing key right here, okay? So we didn't have a routing key because we didn't really care what it was sent to. Plus, it was going to get ignored anyways, right? This case, since we actually want to filter these things out by the log type, well, we want to set the routing key as our log type. So instead of empty, it's going to say log type, right? So in the diagram, if we sent in, well, over here, let me see this. So if we sent in this right here, our routing key is going to be error, as you see right here. Our routing key is going to be error, which is something that we want, okay? All right. And honestly, that's it. That's it for this, right? Now it's time to go to the receive logs, which we all know it's a bit more complicated. Now, in our receive logs direct, this is where we're going to have to see what kind of logs they want to listen to, right? Since this is a logging system where we want to filter out specific logs and listen to specific logs, right? Since the receive logs is our consumer, this is where we need to figure out what kind of logs do they want to consume, correct? So in this case, in our node, since we're going to do load, receive, when we try to, spawn a receive direct service, so receive logs direct service, I'm getting comfortable. What we want them to do is send in an argument in here saying that, hey, we only want to receive, or we only want to resume error logs, right? So this right here, this is very, very important, because without this, We don't know what kind of logs they want to hear, so we're not going to be hearing anything. So this is very important, and this is something that we do need to check, saying that, hey, we have to have something in here. It has to be either info, warning, or error, okay? Now, they already have something like that. I'm going to grab it, copy this. I'm going to just paste that sucker right here. So basically, they're just grabbing the arguments, right? And also, they're checking if arguments, if 0. If it is, then we're going to just literally exit the program, logging out this. And this tells you how to use it, right? This is the... you have to use this file, and you have to put in info, warning, or error, or all three. You could actually put all three if you really wanted to. And we'll see that in play in once we're done with this, all right? But they are checking, okay? So, by the way, our exchange name is going to be direct logs. Copy this, control save this. And over here, our exchange name is going to be direct logs. Now, like I said, it's basically the same thing, connection channel. Assert exchange, yeah, but instead of the fan out, it's going to be direct, and we still want durable to be, false, which is all good. And then our queue is going to be exactly the same. We're going to be actually building out a random queue because we don't really care, right? We don't care about the queue name. What we do care is the binding key. And remember this right here, this binding key. This is very, very, very important. So it doesn't have to be the queue name. It could be a binding key. And this is where this right here is literally the binding key. But we'll get into that in a bit, okay? So anyways, we're going to randomly generate a name for the queue. And then we're also going to close it off or delete that queue once the connection is closed, okay? And then we're going to count log our, waiting for messages in the queue. And then this is where we want to bind it, right? But like I said, over here, they could literally put info, warning, and error all at once. So in this case, since they only pushed in error right here, what we want to do is bind the queue that we just created to the binding key of error. So that way we could listen to anything coming from the publisher side with the routing key error. It will be pushed into this queue because our binding key is error, okay? But what if we want to listen to error and info in this one service, right? In this one instance of receive log direct, right? What if we want to do this? Matter of fact, let's do all three. Who cares, right? And warning, right? What if we want to just listen to all three messages or logs, right? That's very, very simple. You could bind as many binding keys as you want. It does not matter. So in this case, we could literally have 3 of them right here, and the binding key for one of them is going to be, error. The other one is going to be info, and then the other one is going to be warning, right? So this is going to bind all of these binding keys to this one queue. So now, if anybody wants to listen to an error message or an info or all 3 at the same time, this queue is going to be able to do that. So basically how this looks like is this right here. You might be like, what? How does that look like? So right here, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. I'm going to redraw this again, and I'm not going to do this, right? So right here, we have our publisher, exchange type. It's going to be direct, right, RK. And then we have, let's say we have 2 queues, and then our consumers, right? Consumer and consumer. Right, so this consumer is only interested. The binding keys over here is let's say the binding key over here is just error, okay? And then the binding keys over here, like I said, this queue could have as many binds as it wants. So it could have error, it could have it could have info, and also it could also have warning. So anything sending by the routing key, if it's an error, it's going to be sent to these 2 queues, okay? If it's a info, it's only going to be sent to this one. If it's a warning, it's only going to be sent to this one, right? So a queue could literally have as many bindings as you want. So yeah, just letting you know how that works or how that looks like, okay? So in this case, this looks a little bit messy. They have a cleaner way of doing it, and I'm just copy their solution. And this is the way they did it right here. So basically, they're grabbing the arguments, and then they're going to just bind it like this, and then, whatever. You should know how this works, right? It's basically what I just did, but they did a for each loop on the args. And last but not least, the log, we're going to change this up to say this, right? We want to see the routing key, which you can grab from the fields, and then the routing key. We also want to see the message. So let's give this a shot, shall we? I mean, it's nothing too hard, guys. Everything should still be the same. Like I said, stick around if you want to see how this all works. I'm going to explain what each file does and how it all connects, okay? And guys, this is too small of a thing, so I already have 4 PowerShells running. So right here, what we're going to be doing is literally doing our, what's it called? Receive. So right here, what we want to do is say node receive. And we do need to specify what do we want to receive, what kind of logs do we want to receive, right? So in this one, we're going to just only receive error logs, okay? There you go, we spawned that. Over here, what we want to do is we want to receive, let's say info and warning, right? So info and warning, just like so, right? And over here, what we want to do is receive, I'm gonna do 3 instances of receive. So we want to receive right here everything. So error, info, and then warning as well. Okay. So this one's going to get all 3 of them, whatever it is. This one's only going to get 2, and this one's only one error for the error messages, right? And over here, oh, we could actually see what's going on. So don't forget about your management system. Let's see what's going on. We have 3 queues right here. And if you click on one, you can see their bindings, right? So here, look at the bindings. So we have right here, the bindings is going to do from the exchange, direct exchange, and the binding is error, info, and warning. See that? That's our routing key. Pretty cool, right? Exchanges, we have 2 of them. I haven't deleted the logs one yet, so we have direct logs right here. You're gonna see that there's quite a bit of binding right here, but like I said, this one has 3, this one has 2, which is info and warning, and the first one we did was error, the second one we did was info and warning, and the third instance was error, info, and warning. All right. But anyways, yeah, this is pretty neat to see. If you want to see like visually what's going on, this is how you would see it. Okay. Anyway, let's go over here. Let's get rid of this. All right. So now let's start sending some stuff. So node emit. There you go. And let's send in a error message, right? Error. We're going to be sending an error message. I'm not going to be sending a message because our default message is literally, if we go back over here, our default message is going to be subscribe, like, and comment. Okay. So that's it. So let's send this out. There you go. And there you go. Look at this. This one grabbed it and this one grabbed it as well. You can see the routing key was error and the message is subscribe, like, and comment. If you have not, and if you find this video interesting or entertaining or, informative, please like the comment or like the video. It's going to bump up by, my YouTube stats, my street stats on YouTube. Anyways, so this one has, since we send in an error message, this one's going to grab it and this one. But let's send in a log. So let's, not log, an info, right? So if I do that, you're going to see that this one had grabbed it and also this one grabbed it as well. But this one did not grab it. Now let's send in a warning, which you should already know which one it should be sending it to, right? This one right here and also this one. So you can see that these are actually being filtered out to the specific instance that wants to listen into that specific type of log type, right? So this one's only listening to the error messages. This one's only listening to info and warning messages. And this one is literally just listening to all 3 of them if it wants to, right? And if you wanted to, you could actually type in a message, warning, WDJ needs to be stopped. Right, if I send that, there you go. WDJ needs to be stopped. There you go, man. Because I'm too good. No, I'm playing. I don't want to get cocky. I'm just playing around. I'm not. But anyways, guys, that's how a direct exchange works, or the routing keys work, as you saw right there. So let's just go one more step and explain how this works, all together. I want to show you how this all works, right? We're going to take it one file at a time, okay? Let me delete this. By the way, guys, we are done. I'm just going to be explaining it like I said. So right here, let's do right here. So this is our publisher, right? So we got our publisher and then connection, channel, whatever. And then this is where we're going to exert an exchange. So we're going to be creating an exchange right here. We're going to be creating an exchange. This is going to be the direct exchange. I don't know why I'm doing that, but DX, and the name of it is direct logs, right? So DL. I'm just say that for right now, right? So, and then we're going to be publishing to the exchange name, which is direct logs, which is this one. We're going to be publishing it and sending in a routing key as well. The log type, which is going to be info, error, or warning, whatever. But let's say that we're playing with, let me get this out. We're playing with this right here. So we're going to be sending an error as our direct exchange. Or sorry, we're going to be sending the error as our routing key, okay? So let's say that for instance, our RK, our routing key is going to be set to error. All right, so this is all that this file is doing right here. It's literally just publishing a message to our direct logs exchange, and our routing key is error. Okay, now let's go to our receive logs, which is a little bit more complicated. So what's going on in here, right? And remember, we are grabbing the what kind of exchange that they want to listen to. But in this case, since we're just doing a simple diagram, let's say that they want to listen to all three of them, right? It doesn't matter. We're going to be listening to all three. So in this one, we still need to grab our connection, our channel. We're going to make sure our exchange exists. So look at this. It does exist. Our DL, direct logs, does exist. So we're going to leave that alone. Right here, we're going to be creating a queue. We're going to be checking if there is a queue or not, right? So there's no queue. So let's create one. Over here, we go created a queue, and we're going to call this ABC because it's a randomly generated queue, right? We haven't bind anything to it. We haven't set a binding key yet or nothing like that. But anyways, then we're going to console log, and over here, we're going to just bind our queue to what they want to listen to, right? So in this case, if they do want to listen to all three of them, info, warning, and what's it called? Error, then we're going to be creating a binding key, which is this last one right here. This is the binding key. We're going to be creating a binding key for all three of those. Okay, so we're going to create a binding key for error. We're going to be creating a binding key for info. And also we're going to be creating a binding key. I'm going to do errors like that. We're going to be creating a binding key for warning. Right? So anything that the publisher, since the publisher is sending an error, is going to be sent to this queue as well. Okay? And then our consumer obviously is this file, and then we're going to be grabbing that stuff. Right? So that's basically how it works right here. Channel consume, queue.queue message. There we go. We're consuming that stuff. Good stuff. And this is how we basically set everything up. And this is how a direct exchange works. And this is used for, you know, simple filtering. Not advanced filtering, simple filtering. Basically, our routing key equals our BK. So this is all due to if RK equals, I'm going to do it in JavaScript terms, BK, right? So if RK equals BK, we're all good to go. That's pretty much how we can sum up direct exchange. Anyways, guys, like I said, if you liked the video, please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below on what you thought about the video. Did I explain it good? Do you think my messages, I'm gonna become a an evangelist for RabbitMQ? No, I'm playing, I'm not. But anyways, thank you guys for watching my videos. I really do appreciate you spending your time watching my videos. It helps me out a lot. Also, if you want to support me any further, there are going to be links down below for my Patreon. And if you want to make a simple donation to me as well, there's a link for that as well. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about the topic exchange. Look out for that. That's going to be a little bit more, what's it called? More complex. This was a little bit more complicated, obviously, because we were dealing with routing keys and all that. But the next one, the topic exchange, if you don't know what that is, check out my first video, or technically my second video, exchange types, and you're going to see why that's a little bit more complicated. All right, but we are going to be talking about the topic exchange in the next video. So stay tuned for that, guys. Stay safe, and bye.